and homosexuality are not in the same category, right? You have one thing that still has a natural basis in humanity, and you have one that doesn't, right? If you look at the survival of a species, we're going to go to, I mean, even if you take religion out of it, a very core idea of the survival of any species, right? If any species is unable to procreate to a certain extent, in humans they say 2.3 per 2 people, that species will decline and cease to exist, right? So in that sense, if, for example, the majority of people became homosexual today, right, how would you sustain humanity? Go ahead.
I don't think it's necessary because we're overpopulated.
Okay, excellent. But think it through, right? Think it through. We're overpopulated today, right? Let's say we start to dwindle as humanity, right? Now, what happens is the elder generations will outweigh the younger, who are workers, who are able to do, right? You cannot sustain society. And we're finding this problem in Europe right now. That's why they're welcoming a lot of immigrants, because immigrants are doing all the hard work, right? So when you have a society where you don't, and you can ask your professor, if you don't have 2.3, I don't know how you get the 0.3, but statistics, right? Per couple, that species cannot survive. If we start dwindling in numbers as a species, we may start to look at a model that we're like, oh, we're getting less population, that's good. But we can't sustain that because the older population that's unable to work will not be able to be sustained by the younger. And as we go generation by generation, when the population does become less and less, in the end, we will become extinct as a species. That's genetics. Go ahead.
Like, I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's completely fair because you have a lot of people that give their kids up for adoption, a lot of people that don't want their children, and like they have children, they don't want them. And you have these couples that can't like biologically have children that adopt them and give them a good home. Sure,
but think through that, right? How many people are there that, for example, in the world today, that give up their children, percentage-wise, right? It's minute, percentage-wise, right? How many people are unable to have children biologically? By percentage-wise, it's again going to be minute. But if you have a society where it's not an issue of somebody being born sterile or not able to have children, if you have a society where people make decisions, where they start to go towards a lifestyle that it will not sustain humanity. I know people don't want to talk about this because we have been politically corrected to a point that we can't discuss things. But these are realities, right? These are things that we look in nature. The natural, not going to get graphic here, right? But the method of use even between men and women and other than that, it's not the same, right? There's an exit, an entrance, and all that kind of thing that you need to think through, right? People don't want to talk about it because they don't have that ability to have that conversation. But we should be able to, as a society. We don't have to agree on it. You can have your view, I can have my view. But we need to have that conversation, right?
I just think like, obviously we disagree on the topic, which is fine, but I don't understand how it's like moral to love and be with all these different people when like cheating is seen as bad because you're with different people.
Good point.
But then...
So let's talk about that. So let's talk about that, right? Let's say there is a man and he loves a woman, and let's say there's another woman and both of them agree that openly, no secrets, no lying, no cheating, they want to be married to this man, right? If both women agree and they're happy about it, right? How is that lying or cheating, right? In Islam, this is the difference. In America, we have hypocrisy, right? What we have people that tell, I never want to be with anybody else, but then they're at a massage parlor doing things that they shouldn't be. Then they're out there getting caught in hotel rooms with people that they shouldn't be. We have prostitution like you wouldn't believe. We have strip clubs. We have all kinds of things that we hide. We don't want to talk about because we do it secretly. We do it lyingly, right? And that's wrong. In Islam, that's wrong. Look, if you and your wife, Adam and Eve, one husband, one wife. That's the natural state. That's what the Quran tells you, that look, this is the best, right? You're happy, she's happy, great, right? But let me ask you a question now, right? In Iraq, for example, recently, Right? Now, I'm not talking about history of a long time ago, right? We had wars, we had bombings. We as a country, the United States, we invaded a country. Economy collapsed, no law enforcement. Many women, their husbands were killed. Mostly those that were killed, military or so on, or executions by death squads and so on, were men, right? There were women now in Iraq that could not get a job. There were no jobs. They could not safely go out and work, right? In that situation, if a woman and a husband say, you know what, there's a woman, she's in need, I'm perfectly comfortable if you take her as a second wife and we all live happily together, openly, honestly, what's immoral about that, right? What would you suggest as an alternative? For her to turn to prostitution, sell her kids? Like, you see what I'm saying? There are situations. If you are not in that situation, great. You don't have to go down to the line of polygamy. You are happy, your husband's happy, your wife's happy, great. Live a happy life. And that's the majority of Muslims. If you look at 99.9% of Muslims, it's just one wife, one husband. But there are situations, there are situations where sometimes a wife is not able to have children, and she tells her husband, I want to be with you, but I want children. Marry a woman so we can have children, we can live together. If they're all happy with that, and that is something that is in the natural course of how humanity does continue, why would we have a problem with it? Go ahead.
I just really strongly disagree.
Okay. Great.
I get it from a biological standpoint.
Good. At least we agree from a biological perspective, right?
I just don't understand why it's an awful thing for people to love who they love, because they don't have a choice about it.
So let me ask you this. Let's say somebody is attracted to a dog.
Okay, but bestiality.
Why?
Is not the same.
Why not?
Because it's an animal.
But if somebody is naturally attracted to an animal, why is that wrong? How come you consider that to be wrong, right? Then your morality is just your own scale, right? Meaning that if somebody's naturally attracted to a dog, they're born that way, why would that be different?
Because there's a difference between being attracted to an animal and comparing being attracted to this.
What's the difference?
That they're people.
Sure. Again, so there's a difference between attracted to being a man and a man being attracted to a man and a man being attracted to a woman, right? There's a difference.
There's a difference between being attracted to the same sex and being attracted to an animal.
Sure. Why not? But the
people.
I understand they're people, right? But then if you go down that path, then there is a difference between a man being attracted to a woman and a man being attracted to a man. They're the same gender. But if you say that difference doesn't matter, then where do you draw the line? Why is it not okay to be attracted to a dog if they're naturally inclined towards it? See, this is where morality changes, right? Everybody draws their own line. We draw the line where our Creator draws the line. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in the Quran, this is the line that's drawn by the Creator. Naturally, biologically, it's a line that's been drawn. Again, we respect everybody's right to have their own opinions. Go ahead.
I think also it comes down to the cultural and religious perspective. For example, on the topic of homosexuality, Uganda, the president isn't Muslim, but he personally, his stance was that no, as an African nation, we're not going to put that practice in place, and so you can't really say Islam itself is the only one that's
No, I mean, first thing, culture is a different issue, but if you look at any religion, if you look at the Bible, very clearly condemns it, right? If you've read the Bible, if you haven't, Leviticus in the Old Testament, Romans in the New Testament, even has a very strict punishment in the Bible for it. Go ahead.
I never said it was just Islamic people or Muslim people. I'm just talking about in general.
Sure. No, I was just clarifying from her point.
No, I know, but she said it's not just, and I was why
right.
So I just want to clarify.
Sure, you're right. I mean, every major religious text condemns homosexuality. Right? But again, that's those texts and the people of that religion. You can look it up yourself, when you can look up the Old Testament, you can look up the New Testament, you can look up writings of any of the traditional commentators from the rabbis or priests and so on. Even till today, most Christian churches do not allow homosexuality, right? But some are changing because they feel they need to, please the people of the time or so on. But they can't change the text. The texts are the text, right? Now, if you want to take it to a biological perspective, if you want to take religion out of it, I think we've already agreed that there is an issue. If somebody feels that this is their opinion, that they think this is fine, They have the right. It's a free country, right? Go ahead.
I don't agree that it's an issue. Like, I
What do you mean?
agree that like biologically only men and women can make children together.
To procreate the human race.
That's what I agree with.
Okay,
I
good.
don't think
We
it's
agree.
an issue.
So do you think biologically men were supposed to procreate together as a race, or women and women? I mean, that's the core function of
Obviously
two.
not, because they
Okay.
have two different, like, you have
Okay, so that's an issue, right?
a sperm cell and an egg cell.
Exactly. And who has a sperm cell?
But that's
Men. And who has an egg cell? Women. And that's how nature designed for the human race to continue, right? I mean, we can agree to that part, right? Right?
I just, like, that's
But she agrees.
I understand that that's how you need to make children.
Right? No, but I mean, it's not just about having children. Go ahead.
I don't agree that having gay couples who don't have a choice to love who they love
Gotcha.
are like somehow gonna make the whole population die, the whole species die.
Okay. So
That's a little ridiculous.
sure. So now let's think it through, though, right? To say that one gay couple or two or three, that's a different issue. But we're talking about a species, right? So we have agreed now that the way a species survives is through a male and female, right? Sperm, egg, that is correct, right? So if something is acceptable and natural, then it should be able to be scalable, right? Meaning if the majority of humanity went down that path, would that be an issue for the survival of the human race? Biologically. Yes, no, maybe? You don't want to think about that scenario?
I'm getting really mad and I don't want to be
Why?
disrespectful because I really disagree with
Sure, so as,
And I really like, I don't want
I understand.
Like,
But
I don't wanna be
as,
disrespectful to
I
you.
appreciate that, but look, if I disagree with your view, I can't get upset. I have to, this is the society we live in. I have to respect the fact that you have a view, right? And if I have a view, you have to respect the fact that I have a view. And we as Americans can disagree, right? That is the whole point of the country we live in. Many people are very adamant about abortion or pro-life or abortion rights, but we have to, as a society, be able to respectfully discuss and respect the fact that somebody may have a different view. If we start getting angry and upset and things, then that closed-mindedness, that hatred would develop, right? That's the whole point of such conversations, is to understand. And this is not something, just my view. Many views that people have around you, you may not agree with. You have that right. Any other question? Not about, go ahead.
But is choosing a life of celibacy forbidden?
It is not. It's a choice. I mean, if somebody wants to be celibate, but that is not the natural way in Islam either, right? Meaning that even if you're a scholar, even if you are, what you would be equivalent to a priest and so on, we get married, we have children. Most of the scholars that I know in San Diego are all married, have children and so on, because in Islam we believe that's the natural method. The way that we see in the Catholic Church, for example, where we have the nuns and priests and so on, we don't believe that's the natural lifestyle either. And that's why we see many ills come into society from that kind of a celibacy as well. Not going to go into details there, which you can Google it. Yeah. Questions?
So we have to wrap up at 9. So if you have any last questions, please feel free to ask.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's not a question, but I just kind of want to just give a little perspective on that whole matter. So, first and foremost, I think you understand that everybody's just not going to believe the same thing.
Sure.
Everybody's not going to be Muslim, everybody's not going to believe the Quran, everybody's not going to believe the Bible. But one of the functions of revelation is to lay down a guide, a principle of morals in any culture, in any society that you live in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I got this analogy one time from somebody that went to, they said they interviewed somebody in like Papua New Guinea, a tribe that practiced cannibalism. And they interviewed the person, and one of the last person that participated in cannibalism. And they said, didn't you know that it wasn't right to eat another person's body after you killed him? And he said, the person said, how would I know that? This is all I ever knew. This is what I've seen. I mean, everybody was doing it.
Sure.
So when revelation comes down, like right now we live in a society where love means something different, relationships mean something different than it might have been at one point in time. So if that society had received a revelation, then they would have had a guideline to say, hey, this clearly says don't eat people.
Huh?
Well, we don't eat people. All right, so in the matter,
I'm glad we don't.
the book says don't do it, so we don't do it. That's our guideline for morality. If a person disagrees with that, that's fine, so you disagree with that.
Sure.
Where it's coming from, this is why the Muslims say that we don't do that. That's our guideline for morality. This is what we live by. Now, if you live in a time where everybody says relationships look like something different, 100 years from now, it might be something different.
Sure.
But our
I mean,
going to remain the same.
as a society today, we have many things that we are, as a society, are debating and arguing. What is the role of transgender men and women amongst other men and women? Should transgender men who identify as women play sports with women, and so on and so on? These are things that society is debating and discussing, and we have to have a respectful discussion on it. But as Muslims, we have a divine guideline, and that's what we follow. Go ahead.
I kind of feel like the conversation was wanting to hear it was acceptable.
Yeah, I think that is usually what I get nowadays.
But as Muslims, we know, just like you're saying, that is the guideline. We go by the word of Allah. We
That's
can
it.
love a gay person, but you're not jumping into, the same environment or atmosphere or fire.
I got you. Go ahead.
By loving them, you can respect them like we respect everyone else. But
Sure.
it doesn't mean that you're going to find that we approve of it. That is
Yeah, and again, I mean, just to be clear, you can be.
Because my sister did.
Uh,
But
I understand.
But you don't see how, you don't see that that's right. Like, you see
No.
it wrong.
So again.
You're wrong about that.
So let's keep this together, right? Let's say somebody has some. Let's say. Let me give you another example. All right? Take it easy. Take it easy, right? Let's say you have a 40-year-old friend who's in love with a 16-year-old friend, right? For example, right? Would you approve of that, right? That's between that could be what they're attracted to. You can disagree with them, but that doesn't mean that you have to agree with what they agree with, right? Or they have to agree with what you have to agree with. Everybody has their own idea of morals, but we as Muslims have a divine text. This is what we follow. So, go ahead. Go ahead.
So my point is, I'm not a Muslim. I believe in homosexuality, but my point to you would be, if we cannot hold these conversations and not get frustrated, what separates us from being the same as those MAGA supporters who fight out in a way and can't hear out the opinions of other people? People of Islam, they believe in sex as a form of procreation, and that is their belief.
Right.
I believe in homosexuality, and I'm fine, and I agree with him, and I follow you, and I'm totally fine listening to everything you have to say. I have friends that are Muslim, but I'm not going to fight with him on his beliefs.
We can discuss it.
Those are his beliefs.
I do understand, he has his own beliefs because he believes that, his creator has this way of, he wrote out the way to do things.
Good.
That's what you believe. What I don't understand is, if you don't believe in that, then how can you fully love someone if you can't accept how they are?
So again, this is where my question comes to you. If there is somebody who does some action that you don't agree with, does that mean that you can't love them as a human being? So go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like when you're in college, you interact with so many different types of people that have different beliefs and stuff. And so, like you mentioned, you have to be able to have conversations and be able to see both sides respectfully without getting upset, because it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
You can leave it in the room. And especially when you're coming into a new space and you're getting new information, you have to be open to hearing some things that you may not agree with.
That's the whole point of conversations, right? Again, I meet people that hold views that I very strongly am against. right? But I have to be patient enough and have to be comfortable enough to be able to talk it out, right? And as a country, that's what we're going through, right? People that are Christian, people that are Jewish, people that are Mormons, people that are Muslim, people that are Hindus, people that are atheists, all have different views. And this is why we're here to present one set of views. Accept is your choice or reject is your choice. Free country. Till now. All right. Any other questions? To wrap it up?
Can I make a statement?
Go for it.
Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
Sallallahu alaihi
wasallam, during his time, he ran across a lot of different people who had many different beliefs. We followed that example of conduct and character that he displayed to them. You know, and he never, you know, ordered anyone to do anything bad to these people. It was to them their way and to us our way. You know, so we try to follow that and make sure that we treat a human being as a human being. We're not allowed to hate the human being. We might not like actions, but we're not allowed to hate the human being. So if I don't hate you, I love you.
Oh, that was so nice.
It was a really good way to help me like understand then, because I was just kind of confused. Because like, to me, like in this society, like the way you identify is kind of like how you are sometimes. Like that's how people perceive you.
Sure.
So a lot of people like, I was just kind of confused by her comment.
All right.
I didn't fully understand. But
Good.
he said it like really made a lot of sense.
Excellent. I'm glad you were able to work it out with his loving comment. So, thank you so much.